We're here today because of the 50 and 50 project. Hi, my name is Cheyenne Renee. I have a wonderful husband named Jordan, and together we have a husky named Mateo. I've been painting ever since I can remember, but I have been pursuing art as a career since I was 14 years old. 4 small businesses, a lot of paintings, and many, many ups and downs later, here I am. The 50 and 50 project is a project that I came up with in 2021, where I have decided to paint 50 murals across all 50 states before 2025. The main goal with this project is to highlight small towns and businesses across the country that might be overlooked, starting in my hometown of Covington and Clifton Forge, Virginia. Covington and Clifton Forge are nestled in the southwest mountains of Virginia along Interstate 64, surrounded by mountains, waterfalls, and many rivers. And in December of 2021, there was a blank wall. When I first had this idea to do a mural in all 50 states, to be perfectly honest, I had no idea if it would work. I emailed as many people as I could from my hometown to try and find a wall and somebody that would like some art. And luckily I had a connection with Mary Donnan. She's the one who drove by this blank wall every day and thought art should be on it. I knew that my first mural needed to be something that represented what I love to paint, something that I could use as a preview of what my murals could be and how quickly I could paint them. Mary loved the idea. She emailed me back, and the rest is history. I was lucky enough to have Mary share a little bit about the Allegheny Foundation and just her perspective on this project and how everything came together.
Hi, I am Mary Donnan with the Allegheny Foundation in Covington, Virginia, and I am here beside our most recent edition with the Covington mural by Cheyenne Renee. I am so excited about this image with its sort of reference to the early National Park promotional and Blue Ridge Parkway posters. We are in the Allegheny Mountains of Virginia in such a scenic area, and through the winter, as many of our deciduous trees lose their leaves, it has been so much fun to see this mural on a daily walk into my office since it was completed last fall. We are in downtown Covington, beside the building that houses State Supply Company, and across the parking lot from where I work at the Allegheny Foundation. The Allegheny Foundation is a private foundation created with the sale of our local hospital in 1995, and as an organization we make grants to support nonprofits and local government efforts in the Allegheny Highlands. One of the projects we supported several years ago was to send a delegation to a training that was sponsored by the Conservation Fund, by the National Endowment of the Arts, and by the Appalachian Regional Commission. In that training, we focused on gateway communities and economic revitalization in small towns. Going to that training with artist Cheyenne was one of the highlights, in addition to the fact that here we are several years later, and one of the ways identified for placemaking was to create murals. And Cheyenne, as an artist, has expanded in that direction and created this incredible work of art, and I am so excited about seeing what else she creates in other communities around this region and beyond.
I just really want to give a huge shout out to Mary and the Allegheny Foundation, and then also to Glenn Bailey, the owner of the building that mural is on. Without these people this wouldn't have happened, and I can honestly say without them I wouldn't have had the confidence probably to start this project. So let's take you into the Clifton Forge mural. So the Clifton Forge piece is actually the other half to the Virginia mural location. So if you go on my website, you're going to be able to find one location for each state, and Virginia is going to be very unique in the sense that there's two halves to this piece, because I've lived in Clifton Forge and I've lived in Covington. They're both really close to my heart, and I really wanted to highlight the School of the Arts. Let's just get into the mural process and how I even ended up doing a piece here. So I worked with Keely. She's a woman that works there at the school. I have gone through a few different classes with her, and also just become friends with her over the last couple of years, selling my artwork at their craft shows and buying some art supplies from the shop. I reached out to her with this whole project idea, and she was really interested in it. And originally we had discussed doing just a pair of butterfly wings on the wall that people could take photos with. I was really inspired by complementary colors when we had first discussed the butterfly, so doing bright yellow and bright purple or orange and blue and just using those in the painting. I really love the way the butterfly turned out. It's one of my favorite parts about this whole mural. I haven't done a lot of butterflies in my work before. The process was really fun for this piece, and the people that I got to meet while painting this made it 100% better. The mural itself is located on the side of George's studio. It's the glass studio, and then it faces their garden that they have. So they have this really beautiful flower garden that sits between the studio and their welding mill. George is going to kind of walk us through some of his pieces, as well as you guys just being able to see a little bit more of what they do there.
I'm George Ayers. I'm the stained glass instructor here at the Clifton Forge School of the Arts. I also teach other forms of glass art, including glass fusing and glass mosaics. My wife and I moved to the area 13 years ago. We love being here in the Highlands. We love the beautiful seasons, seeing all the springs and stuff. It's just a tremendously beautiful area. We feel blessed to be here. Well, I have done stained glass over 45 years and taught it where I used to live. We moved here and I started teaching at this school over 10 years ago. The school has continued to grow and to diversify. It's really tremendous to see what this little school offers in this charming little town. Coming from a big city, I'm amazed that a town this small has so much to offer, and a school this small and this new has so much to offer. Yeah. Blacksmithing, photography, pottery, it goes on and on. It's just tremendous.
I am so grateful to him for being willing to get in front of the camera and talk a little bit about who he is and what he does with the School of the Arts. We were able to go into his studio and take a look at some of the pieces he's created, as well as some of the pieces they offer classes on.
Items we have here are for sale, and many of them represent pieces that a student could do in a class. A few of them are personal favorites that are in my permanent collection. This one here I made in 1979, and it is one of my most favorite pieces. This one here is one that I did, I think, in 1986, give or take. And actually this is a reproduction. I've just completed this one. So that one is for sale, if anyone's interested. That was quite popular, so I'm making another one.
The sunflower?
Yeah, it's going to be in a fundraiser. This small panel is an example of glass fusing using frit. Frit is fusible glass that's been crushed and graded by size and color. So this is mostly done with small amounts of frit and very simple glass cutting. This piece is a mosaic panel that I did in the last year or so. It represents a new class that we're offering here, where you glue bits of glass onto a wooden substrate. There's another sunflower. You can see that I love sunflowers. This one is actually produced from a photo of a sunflower that grew on our farm.
I just want to say a really big thank you to George for taking the time to talk about his work and his process and being comfortable enough to share that with us. From Virginia, I headed to the town of Smithers, West Virginia. Smithers is a small town with a population of 737 people. I was able to work with the mayor of Smithers to get this mural completed. It's a portable piece, and their dream for the mural is to mount it on one of the buildings that's in their downtown area. It holds so much history for them and memories for the people and families that have grown up there and lived there their whole life. I was able to work with Allison and Beach, two people that work for the town, worked for the city at the time. And every community member that I met during the time that I was there painting was so welcoming and excited to hear about the project. I had full artistic liberty with this piece, and I really wanted to capture what I felt coming into the town, which is just this small community of houses that are nestled in all of these green trees in the middle of the mountains. During my time in Smithers, I was connected with Bernice, who owns a gallery in Montgomery, which is just across the bridge. She is so passionate about bringing people to Smithers and Montgomery. I was so grateful to have had the time to talk with her and get her to share a little bit about what she's doing.
So there's 25 artists represented, local artists represented here in this little gallery, and I have a variety of things from stained glass to pottery to painting. It's not just painting. Some of the artists are local. Several people are local here in town, and some as far away as Calhoun County. But my name is Bernice Deakins, and I've lived in Montgomery 4 years. But I've lived in West Virginia 20 years. I've lived in the United States from Canada 35 years. My business is Gallery on 4th. I'm 414 4th Avenue, so naturally it had to be 4 somewhere, something in there. So Gallery on 4th, and I have the gallery and a teaching studio, and my own studio where I work and create. Right now I have acrylic classes, and I have mosaic classes, sewing classes, alcohol ink classes, and I'm getting ready next month to teach watercolor classes. So, well, one of the main things is people always ask me if I get regular hours, and I don't have regular hours because I teach classes in the evenings and Saturdays, and do my own work during the week in my studio. But I'm always available. I'm always here. So if people want to call me or drop by, just give me a heads up, and they're welcome to come anytime and work on their own projects or see the gallery or bring a friend or whatever. Well, for a little town, we have a variety of murals. I think we have 6 right now, which is quite a bit for a small town, and they're interesting to see. My dream and the passion of a lot of people, artists in the area, is we want to have it as an art community.
Yeah.
People love it, and the locals say, come see our gallery, because they consider it their gallery.
Yeah.
And there is another gallery from Charleston to Fayetteville.
I really enjoyed my visit with Bernice, and I'm grateful that she was willing to get in front of the camera. After visiting with Bernice, I was able to continue work on the mural until it was time for me to showcase it. When the piece was finally done, I took it to their downtown art festival where I was able to display the mural, finish up some final details, and I got to meet and talk with some of the community, which was just the best part. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
My name is Tara. I grew up in Montgomery and lived in Smithers about 5 years, but lived in Montgomery all my life in Dade County.
Hello, my name is Rhea Cavalier. I live in the wonderful little town of Smithers, West Virginia. I was in law enforcement for 23 years in Texas, retired, and here I am. You couldn't ask for a better little town.
Hey, we're the Pritts, and we have lived in this area our entire lives. I lived away for 7 years in the military, but moved back home. And my favorite thing about living here is how close the community is.
Hi, my name is Allison Smith, and I'm an extension agent working in the area. I've lived here for about a year, and my favorite thing about living in the area is the outdoor recreation, the beautiful rivers, the beautiful mountains, and the small, quaint communities.
Awesome.
I'm her sister, Catherine Ekman. I've only been living here since November, but I think my favorite thing is working with the students in the county. I work with all elementary age students.
That's awesome.
I am Wardy Mitchell. I have lived in Smithers pretty much my entire life. 30 years old, born and raised. I love the small town feel of the city. Pretty much everything about it. The people know each other. We all get along. I love the river. I love the mountains. Again, it's a great place to live. Small town West Virginia, and I love it.
My name is Beach Vickers, and the bridge that Cheyenne painted on here is called the Vickers Bridge after my departed father, so we're very proud to be on the mural. I was born in Montgomery, which is just across the river. I work in Smithers, which is right here. And one of the things I like about here are the mountains and the river. And guess what? That is featured in the mural. Thank you very much.
Тёхнув пісню, соловій загає. Всюду буйна квітне черемшина, мов до шлюбу вбралася калина. Вівчора в садочку, тихому куточку жде, дівчина жде. Шла она в садок ліс, а та кору задивилась на высокую гору, где с берез слетают чистые росы, цвет калины.
Hello, my name is Alex Kapin. I'm originally from Russia. 2010, first in America, and I found a group of volunteers with name Pick Up America. The goal was to pick up garbage and to introduce people how much we are wasting garbage and to encourage them to follow zero waste. Okay. And I joined them here and we traveled, and first day when I met them it was Covington, Virginia. I was there in Covington. They came from Maryland and they stuck there, and I called them, and I don't remember, somebody took me in DC and brought me to Covington. It was my first day with them there. I remember we were there in forest, sleeping in campground, and then we started to clean this town, and I asked them, oh, Covington, there was a factory smoking.
The mill.
Yeah,
the paper mill.
Why is the mill? They told me, you're welcome, you are in America.
Yeah.
And then we went, we usually pick up garbage like 5 or so miles a day, and then stuck somewhere. Wow. Slept in our RV. We had RV, or some people invited us to host us there. And one day we came here to Montgomery, and my king hosted us for a few days. And by the time when we came here, I was already kind of tired, because I was like 50 years old already, and all of them were younger than me. Yeah. But to carry this stuff with garbage, and I had some medical problem anyway. I asked him, Mike, would you like any volunteers to work with your organization? His organization name is Morris Creek Watershed Organization. He said, yes, Alex, you're welcome to stay with us. And I stayed with him and helped with his project, but it was not as hard for me to do. Then, yeah, but many times I came here for 2 or 3 weeks, few times a year. And called to another friend from Pickup America. She is still there in Maryland, Franceville, close to Morgantown. Mm-hmm. You know there.
Yes.
And they are running their small agriculture farm. And I asked them if they could allow me to stay with them and trade off to help with the farm. And they agreed with them. And I came to them and stayed there until. And we had agreement that I will stay with them until I will get my American citizenship. And then COVID came, and sometimes I played in gigs like in cafe, but it's very seldomly. And I applied for my citizenship in May of 2021, and I was told that I have to wait up to the end of 2022, but unexpectedly at the end of 2021 they accelerated the process, and I got my American citizenship in December 21.
Wow.
So I now have dual citizenship.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And in October I started to find again job of guitar teacher all over the states, and I sent more than 100 applications and still didn't get job, and I had to leave this farm. That I called Mike and asked him, Mike, may I stay with you until I will get maybe I will get job, or maybe I will get my travel passport, because after getting my citizenship I applied for travel passport. It takes usually about 3 months, and I thought maybe if I don't get job I will go back to Moscow, because I still have the apartment where I can stay for free.
Right.
And also I played there as a street musician every summer too. And then while I've been there, war started, and it's completely
Everything's.
And you can stay there if you keep silence, you're okay, but if you protest you will be arrested. Decided I don't go there, because if I go there it looks like I support this war if I present there.
Yeah.
Today we tested this Facebook, not Zoom, but Facebook, how it works, and Anna and her brother and another woman from Ukraine, but he is now a refugee with her.
From Smithers, West Virginia, I went to Cheyenne, Wyoming, population 65,000. Yes, I know it's the capital of Wyoming, and yes, I know it's not a small, unheard of town. But can you blame me? Otherwise, it just seemed like a missed opportunity. I worked with the Cheyenne DDA on this mural. I got connected to a couple of people via email, and from there, they were able to find the building location. This mural is actually on the side of a car wash in downtown Cheyenne, and from the point that I arrived, they basically said that there weren't any major restrictions on what I was going to paint, and they gave me some idea of the history of Cheyenne, as well as some animals and natural elements that are commonly found in Wyoming. I normally use the first day that I'm there to connect with the person that I'm working with, but also get a better grasp of the location and what are things that are meaningful to the people that live there. And in a location like Cheyenne, where they already have a lot of public art and they have quite a few murals already, I didn't want to copy or do something that had already been done before. I was able to explore Cheyenne for myself, and I wandered into the Cheyenne State Museum. I found myself spending almost 3 hours in the museum, reading on the history and the landscape of Wyoming, wandering upstairs eventually to the Native American exhibit, and it was emotional. I was inspired to spotlight the past, what was once there roaming free, what was taken from Wyoming, and the people that were taken from their homes. Normally mistaken for buffalo, bison once inhabited the north in numbers around 30 to 40 million. By 1885, those numbers dropped to around 540. After settlements, the construction of the railroad, and the disregard to the native tribes that once coexisted with these animals, you can understand why the numbers plummeted. My idea with this piece was to do the bison in the center, surrounded by native flowers. So the 3 flowers are electric blue geranium, goldenrod, and Indian paintbrush. But with the birds sitting on top of the bison's head, I really wanted that to pay respect to the tribes and the people that knew how to take care of the animals and the land better than we did, and just to kind of be in memory and an apology. And I hope that it inspires you to take the time to read up on the history, the true history behind the settlement of the U.S., and also some of our leaders' beliefs that caused disruption and pain to the people that were here before us. Desiree from the DDA is a very talented artist, and I was lucky enough to work with her to do the birds that are sitting on top of the bison's head. You can check out her Instagram account or her website. She runs Magpie Creations. The magpie is the bird that she's painted and drawn, I think, probably the most often, and I really wanted it to be one of the birds sitting on top of the bison's head. She was one of the people that I spent the most time with when I was there, and also she's the person that connected me with the other small businesses in the area, as well as some cool projects that are going to be coming up in Wyoming and things that they've done in the past. We'll be doing posts about every location on my website, where you can kind of get my tourist or travel guide on visiting every location, and I would just recommend that you go and check that out if you're interested in visiting Cheyenne, Wyoming, because there are quite a few places and people that I got to talk with that I don't have footage of, unfortunately, and I will be highlighting them there on those posts. I stumbled into the hawthorn tree during a poetry reading, and I absolutely fell in love with all the people that read while I was there. I didn't have my camera with me, I just had my phone, and I just got a few photos. But I did get to meet this author and writer, Mandy Hines. She has written a few different books and done some collections of poetry, as well as just is a beautiful speaker. Her poetry in person, I was just blown away, and I had to have her read a few of her poems for this video. So without further ado, here is some of her poetry.
Public speaking. The first and only time I participated in a poetry slam, one of the judges said, "It's obvious you do these all the time." I was simultaneously stunned and relieved. Stunned because I had only been writing poetry for a little over a year. Last year at this time, I wouldn't even consider calling myself a poet, but eventually I put on the title and wore it like an ill-fitting suit, hoping I might grow into it. And relieved that the irregular galloping of my heart didn't drown out my words as they pounded at my throat and shook out my mouth. Stunned that the sirens from the 5-alarm fire and the screaming echoing in my head was only heard by me. Relieved that no one could hear the self-soothing words I was telling myself. Breathe. Don't race through the words. Don't swallow your tongue. Project your words. Stop looking like you're about to cry. Don't cry, don't cry, don't. To speak in public, I rehearse my poems over and over again. like practicing a fire drill. So when my body fills with adrenaline and panic takes over, the training kicks in, and the words come out despite the thundering of my heartbeat ringing in my ears. I've reminded myself to almost never explain my poems, never apologize for them or my lack of experience or confidence. Just read the poems and watch as the audience is taken in by this close-up magic trick where I pretend to be a person who can speak in public. My Japanese grandmother caught the biggest, bluest dragonfly I'd ever seen in her arthritic hands. A flash of mischief in her eyes, she tied a string around its middle and handed me a living kite. I wonder if my grandmother held the secret to kite making, or if children in Japan go around walking dragonflies. Maybe the mystery of magical things, tying the living together, is how she tied a string around my heart without my notice. We set the dragonfly free, but I can't escape my grandmother's pull. I once knew this girl, and I only call her girl because she was far too young to be carrying the weight of other people's happiness. Far too innocent to know to lay it down, to not let it grind her into the earth. She had the most radiant smile. Everyone said so. Few people noticed the smile didn't reach her eyes. Few people could see the smile was a dam keeping the water locked on the other side. I could see it. I could see the strain in her lips, the way her waning grin was propped up by the corners of her mouth. The slump in her shoulders cried out that this was too much weight to bear. Her eyes betrayed her beautiful disguise.
From Wyoming, I went to Twin Falls, Idaho, where I was able to work with Visit Southern Idaho for this mural. They're the ones that got me in contact with Sarah. She was my point of contact for what to do when I was in Twin Falls, some of the history, and she's also the one that connected me with Tony, who owns a jewelry shop, but also is stuff for the community, and he is the facilitator of Art Alley. I was able to secure a spot in the alley, and I think it's really incredible, and I feel very grateful to have been able to have my art be a piece of community art. I had never visited Idaho. I think I may have driven through it once when I was too young to remember. I had heard some amazing things about Idaho, and I had seen some things online, but nothing prepares you for the out-of-world experience that it is to be in Idaho. Twin Falls is known for this really incredible bridge and the view that you get from this landmark, but also the base jumpers. I was able to connect with Carl when I was in Twin Falls. His work is phenomenal, and he was so generous to share some of his pieces with me to put in this video since I lost a lot of my footage. And he's just an all-around really friendly, awesome guy. He offered to take portraits of me while I was painting the mural. The mural itself is located in the alley behind Milner's Gate Brewery on 2nd Avenue East in downtown Twin Falls. This whole area is alive with a lot of incredible businesses. The growth of Twin Falls over the past 10 to 20 years has been substantial. Everybody that I talked to while I was there talked about the amazing things the community has done, but also the businesses and the things that have come to their area over the last 10 years and how certain things have developed so quickly. And it's exciting to see that for them and for their community to see growth that's happening there. When I was in Twin Falls, I was actually there for a bike race that they had going on, which went through all of downtown. I was able to visit their local farmers market, and they also have a mural walk that you can take where you can go and see all of the murals that they have in downtown Twin. So I got to experience some of that. I had the best breakfast of my life at Yellow Brick Cafe. I still think about it to this day. And one of the artists that is in the middle of painting their mural in the alley is also the owner of Social Dance Theory. Kayshawn just has a vision, and he's clearly very passionate about art. I got to meet him the first day that I was painting the mural, and he came down a few times to see the process, and I connected with him and got to step inside his studio for a little bit.
I mainly teach ballroom dancing, so we run a pretty full schedule with that, plus private lessons and things like that. But we're starting to branch out. We have an improv comedy class that just launched on Tuesdays, so a gal's partnering, and then I'm partnering with another gal that's a counselor, so we're kind of using dancing as a therapy method for couples. So. And then just random events that come up. Yeah.
So how long have you been in Twin Falls?
I've been in Twin Falls most of my life.
Yeah.
I grew up in Sun Valley, but kind of moved down here when I was in 7th grade and haven't been here ever since.
They're doing some incredible stuff with dance. It's not just dance classes, it's also couples dance therapy, where they're trying to mesh therapy and communication with dance and the emotions that come from that. And I think that his artwork is beautiful. The things that he is aspiring to do are beautiful, and his studio is beautiful. He's put so much work into the space. If you get a chance when you're in Twin Falls to take one of the dance classes or go into his studio for one of the events that he hosts, you definitely should take advantage of that. The whole painting process in Twin Falls was so much fun. It was so fun to see my work in a space like this where it was surrounded by other murals and other talented artists. being able to talk to people as they walk by. This was actually one of my first experiences with that, where the art and the whole painting process was so public, where I was getting stopped and people were sharing stories with me, and I actually felt that connection with the community while I was painting. It was really inspiring for me, and I loved every second of being in Twin Falls. From Twin Falls, I went to Mount Vernon, Iowa, where I painted a mural in the Welcome Center of Cornell College. This was really cool because it's the first indoor mural that's happened within the project, and it was also the first college or university that I was able to work with. They were in the middle of redoing their Welcome Center because it's the space where parents and students come a lot of the time for the first time for their tours, and it's the first impression of the school that a lot of people get. I was actually able to take a tour of the campus and see a lot of their historic buildings and hear some of the really cool stories. I lost a lot of my footage from Iowa on my hard drive, so I'm missing a lot of that video. I took the time and I released my travel guide to Mount Vernon, Iowa first on my website, so that you guys can really read about my time there, and also kind of the highlights of restaurants and things that I felt like are worth mentioning about Mount Vernon. I wanted to kind of just talk to the fact that this is an architectural mural. I'm not an architectural artist. It's not my favorite thing in the world to paint. I really love landscapes and nature, and I like doing abstract portraits some of the time, but this kind of pushed me outside of my comfort zone. It was a really wonderful experience to be able to work with the people that were at the college, and also just the students, and to hear how excited people were about the school and Mount Vernon itself. In Mount Vernon for around 5 days, and the painting process was really fun. I painted over the weekend, and this was also in July of 2022, so there weren't a ton of students on campus at the time, and I actually got to see some of the other elements of the Welcome Center come together while I was there. The landscape in Mount Vernon is beautiful. Everything was so green and alive when we were there. And also, if you are traveling or road tripping and you happen to be going through Iowa, Mount Vernon is definitely a place to stop for an amazing coffee at Fuel, which was a cafe that my grandma and I got to go into. And the antique store, Pollyan's, was the best, by far, the coolest antique store I've ever been in over the course of my travels. One of the coolest things that Mount Vernon does every year is the Chalk the Walk Festival, which is one of the reasons I actually found this location and even reached out for it to be one of the 50 and 50 project pieces. This festival brings close to 20,000 visitors every year through Mount Vernon, as well as between 300 and 500 artists that come to do sidewalk chalk in their downtown. They actually block off a few different streets in downtown Mount Vernon and cover them in sidewalk chalk art. If you visit their website, you can see when they plan on doing this every year. It is a free admission festival, and they actually have artists and food vendors set up, so it's not just about the chalk, but it's just one of these things that's so much fun for the people that live in the area, and it also brings so many people into Mount Vernon that normally would not pass through. Not to be too on the nose, but if you are living at college and you live around Iowa, I would highly suggest looking into Cornell. The things that I got to learn while I was there about the school were really awesome. I think the atmosphere that they have on campus is very different than any of the schools that I've personally visited or taken tours of. So I think it's worth taking a look. From Iowa, I went to Gardnerville, Nevada. I stayed in Nevada the last few weeks of September, and I was able to work with Main Street Gardnerville, specifically Jen from Main Street Gardnerville, on the whole image. And we had spent quite a few months going back and forth on what they were looking to do and where they wanted the mural to be. We went through a few different processes when it came to the location and the size of the mural, and we ended up the largest option that I had for this year. When you drive into Gardnerville coming 395 north, you'll be able to see the mural on the right-hand side of the street. It is near their Gardnerville station, which acts as a visitor/welcome center for the town. They have so many plans for downtown Gardnerville and all of the things that they do for historic preservation, as well as getting the community involved in events and supporting their local downtown businesses. I had such a good time learning about the history of Gardnerville, the inspiration for the mural. They really wanted to represent the history of their downtown. So the downtown that I painted in the mural is actually meshed between 2 or 3 different timeline shots that they have in the photo that's hanging in their Main Street Gardnerville offices. And it's just kind of a representation of some of the businesses that have been on Main Street in the past and some of the really iconic imagery for the people that have lived there for so long that really to them it's recognizable, the different signs and the shapes of certain buildings. We also really wanted to represent the agriculture and the natural landscape of Gardnerville and bring in the mountain range like Job's Peak, which you can see from Main Street on Gardnerville. I really enjoyed painting the mountain peaks. It's one of my favorite things to paint. I had so much fun. I actually was up in the bucket truck looking to the left of me, using the fresh snow that had fallen in September on Job's Peak as a guide for what I was painting in the mural. You see that from the minute you drive into this area of Nevada, coming in from Carson City and driving through Minden and into Gardnerville and then through Gardnerville Ranches. You really see all of what is included in this mural, and they wanted that to be the highlight of this art. They wanted it to be a representation of what their area is. I was there to experience their coffin races, which is a fall event that they do every year where you can build a coffin and different teams race. In Gardnerville, I made so many relationships. I met so many people that I cherish, and I'm so grateful for the time that I got to spend there. And I am so, so grateful that Gardnerville is the location for Nevada. I could not think of a better small town to highlight. I actually have family that lives in Nevada that I got to stay with while I was there, which made my time there even more special. They are the ones that nominated the town. I remember one of the days I lowered myself down from the bucket truck, I backed up, and I looked up at the mural, and I hadn't started really filling in all the color yet, but I had laid my rough sketch out. And I just looked up and started crying because I feel so grateful that I've had an opportunity to work with some of these towns. And when I was in Gardnerville especially, I felt so many people's excitement for the project. And it's even cooler that I get to paint in areas that feel like home. I'm painting these murals in communities that they're excited about what they're doing. They are passionate about other people knowing that they exist and that they're worth coming to see. And getting to spend the time that I did in Gardnerville with my family was really special to me. And I feel like Gardnerville became a part of my family while I was there. So thank you to everyone who made me feel so welcomed, and to everyone who's been so encouraging and supportive of the project, and stopping to say hi and taking photos with me, and taking photos of the art. That means more than you will ever know. Gardnerville is located literally 20 minutes from the California border. It kind of worked out in a crazy way that I met Rachel, the owner of Cutthroat Brewery in Markleeville, California. And I got to talk to them about their business and some of the amazing things that they've been doing in Markleeville. Markleeville actually has a population of 210 people. It is the smallest town that I've highlighted in this project, and I think that's really cool because it's also the biggest state that was a part of year one. Markleeville is known for a few different things, their natural landscape being one of them, and is very well known by bikers, whether it's bicyclists or motorcyclists. Markleeville has an annual bicycle ride that you can take called the Death Ride Tour of California Alps. The route goes over 5 different passes in a total distance of 129 miles. There's some really incredible bike trails that you can go on, as well as the general stores and the restaurants that just make Markleeville what it is. I was very grateful to see the piece completed in California and for it to be part of a business that is so worth the spotlight. Cutthroat Restaurant is just doing some awesome stuff. They have such an awareness of the history of the building. They're known for a few different things within the building itself. It's gone through a lot of different life changes and has been a spot for so many people and so much history that Rachel really honors that and respects that with the way that they manage and run the business now. Rachel and her husband run Cutthroat, and they were so generous to help me work this piece out in such short notice. We did this as a donation mural, and I painted it in my aunt's backyard over the course of a 12-hour period from start to finish. It was so much fun, and I would almost venture to say it's one of my favorite pieces of this year because it's so much of what I love to paint. The mountains and the bright colors and things that I hadn't gotten to paint in the project yet. One thing I really want people to know is that this is just the beginning of the 50 and 50 project. Not only do I have 43 more states to complete, 43 more communities to get to know and travel to and visit. This year one video is acting as a way for me to document the art itself, but also where I have been this year. And from start to finish of this project, I want to have these videos to look back on, to see my own growth and also to see the growth when it comes to filming and documenting these towns that really deserve to be seen and voices that really deserve to be heard. I hope that something in this video has inspired you to get outside of your town and the bubble that you live in and to reach out and explore small towns across the US that are doing some really cool things. I got to know about these communities through emailing and through nominations from all my followers and people that I know in real life. It only took me reaching out, trying to connect with places for something to happen and sparks to happen in all 7 of these states. And I think that it doesn't just apply to me as a muralist, but it applies to anybody who enjoys traveling, anybody who is road tripping. It doesn't take a lot of research or a lot of understanding to look on a map and to say, hey, I've never heard of this place, maybe I should go here. Because the foot traffic and acknowledgement and the money that you can bring to a small town, even if it's just a one-day trip or a weekend trip, the encouragement it's like a big snowball that happens. There are places that don't deserve to be dying off just because they have a small population or a small community of people that live there. They're worth seeing, and they're worth traveling to, and they're really worth our time. And in return for our time, we get rewarded with the love and the kindness that comes from people that live in smaller communities, as well as the benefit that we can see when we stretch our money out across the country in ways that we don't naturally do, or ways that aren't marketed to us regularly. My goal in 2025 is that I'm going to look back onto 50 communities that have 50 murals, and between those 50 murals there are hundreds and hundreds of faces and businesses that I've been connected with and that I get to share with you. And I hope to document that well for you. I hope that year one was a sneak peek for you, but I also hope that you leave knowing that there's so much more magic that's happening, and so many more businesses and faces and communities that are going to be spotlighted over the course of the next few years. And I hope that I encourage you to get to know some communities outside of your own.
Yoga in the morning, then wine at night. Train tickets and no flights. Whoa, it's how we roll. Recycle or die. It's the summer, you and I. Oh, how I love you, and how you always don't stand by. No, we know. Talkers on Fridays and screaming kids is to further down on our list. Whoa. Now let it go. Take it or leave it. We resist. There's no bucket list. Just one close fist. Oh, we know. We just want to take it easy. We like it the way that we like it. Yes, we do. Chillin', talking. Sometimes making plans, others nothing. We gotta find a way to make it stay the same. Oh, with no fans of change. Oh no.
After traveling across the country twice this year, visiting 7 new communities, traveling with my grandma for the first time in a long time, and getting to see the country with my husband and with my dog, from vehicle issues to financial issues to learning so many new things. I know looking back on this video that there are so many things that I wish I had documented better, and there's so much footage that I lost because this is the first time I'm editing something and putting things together. There's so many things that I could easily say I regret, and things that I wish I had done differently, or things that the perfectionist in me wants to be better. But the one thing that I know that it's so true, when you're trying to do something and when you're chasing a passion or you have a dream, is that I can't get caught up in wanting everything to be perfect yet, because I'm still growing and I'm still learning how to do all of this. And I'm so grateful to have a community now of people that are interested in the work that I'm doing, but outside of the work and outside of me, you guys are interested in the communities and you're interested in the project. And I know that this is going to be interesting. The video is going to be interesting to some people, and maybe it's really boring to other people, but I have to do this. And in 2025, I hope to release the coolest, most amazing documentary and highlight reel that you've ever seen, and that somehow these 50 murals are going to connect 50 communities, and there's going to be so much awesome stuff that comes from this in the future, that I'm just trying to plant as many seeds and do as much as I can right now. So thank you for your support. Thank you to the community. I appreciate it so much more than you know, and I can't wait to see what the next few years hold. And yeah, I don't know.